Does anyone remember this?
The time has come for decisive action. Action that will break the vicious circle of spiraling prices and costs. I am today ordering a freeze on all prices and wages throughout the United States for a period of 90 days.
All right, we all remember that, right? Richard Nixon, the wage and price controls that sent things out of control. But there is a method sometimes to the madness. If you're going to go this route, you better make sure if that's what you want to do, you better shut down everything. You better control all prices from the earliest of stages right to the end result, the end product, you at the register. Easier said than done, according to Bart Rescue's John Tapper, who says, it is horrific. Take a look.
Think of a shrimp. The fisherman needs to keep his costs the same. His gas can't go up. His maintenance can't go up. Then the processing plant, their prices can't go up. Then the distributor's price can't go up. Then the company that retails it can't go up. Then when the restaurant gets it, his prices can't go up. If anything loses control along the way, the guys on the back end of the chain lose money. And this is what we've seen last time. You know, we saw landlords not rent apartments because they would lose money on it. So unless you freeze every single cost of every business in the country, you cannot cap some of them. And of course, Neil, if you were to do that, then our free market economy is gone. And that is socialism. And entrepreneurship disappears. My ability to innovate and create profits and add value to my customers so I can increase price. Make my service better so I can increase prices. Create better work environments so I can attract better employees. I can't do any of those things anymore once this is put into place. It freezes us where we are, and I believe it stops any type of growth that we could ever have. You know, Neil, you take a look at the last year. Red Lobster filed bankruptcy. Rubio's in California filed bankruptcy. A company called Miracle Restaurant Group with 25 Arby's fast food, they filed bankruptcy. Another company with 17 Popeyes filed bankruptcy. Tijuana Flats filed bankruptcy. Quiznos had 4,700 restaurants. They're down to 300 restaurants. These are the economic conditions that we're living in now. And rather than capping it, how about stimulating it? How about creating an environment where entrepreneurs can be entrepreneurs, where innovative marketing programs and promotional programs and product development can take place that'll pull us out of where we are? The policies proposed are the exact opposite of that, Neil. And if I could just add one more point, even Walgreens is projected closing 2,700 stores, Neil, in the next couple of years. What happens to those local communities when they lose drugstores, when they lose restaurants, when they lose those jobs? This is far-reaching. It isn't about the businesses to me. It's about the families. It's about the people that are impacted by the loss of jobs and the loss of growth. It's a scary premise, Neil.
I thought that was among the most brilliant comments I've ever heard on what the dangers are of trying to control prices at one level. You better start controlling them at every level, all the way down to the people who are shipping the goods to you, even foreign countries that are providing those goods to you as well. A great time to get my next guest in here to see what he thinks of what John Tapper and others are saying. He's Zane Tankel, who's the chairman and CEO of Apple Metro, which operates, among many others, the world's largest Applebee's in Midtown Manhattan. So I was so intrigued by the way he framed it, Zane, that I wanted to replay that because I think it cuts to the chase here. What about you?
I think it does, Neil, but I don't know why anybody's surprised. I mean, would you have a surgeon operate on you who did it from a manual? She's never done anything that deals with economics. She was a federal prosecutor on the dole of the government, and it's hand out free money. It's control the economy. That works all the time. Neil, the model's out there. In California, where she comes from, they raised in April, I believe it was Act 1221, they raised the minimum wage to $20, which is a 25% increase. The first quarter, closures, high unemployment. Now we're ending the second quarter, which will be the litmus test. Granted, it's the restaurant business. However, it's the canary in the cave. because the restaurant business has to make more money than it loses. The Walmart has to make more money than it loses. What this woman is doing is, I don't want to sound like Donald Trump or the former president that it's a catastrophe, the end of the world. I'll tell you this, it will take many years to unwind all that if she gets there. But I spoke to, one last point, a number of people since her speech today that are not sophisticated necessarily. They're just hard-working people, and asked if they got what she had to say, and they said they see through it. And I'm hopeful that that's also the litmus test for the American people, because she's counterfeit. I can't say, I mean, she won't throw us into the abyss. She will destroy that which we have all worked so hard to create. $25,000.
Let me just step back, and I know you don't want to make it about politics here, but I do want to set the dangers of where this goes. And we learned it with a Republican president. It doesn't work. And I do think that there's a lot of blame shifting going on here, and it's a convenient thing to do. Don't blame us, don't blame the administration, don't blame all of our spending at the outset. Blame those evil grocery store guys and food companies. And as you very eloquently pointed out, that's a bit of a stretch. It's sort of like me blaming maybe the 5 or 6 pounds overweight that I might be on a thyroid condition. Now, since you've met me in person many times, you quickly realize that's not the case. I just like to eat. So I'm wondering what you make of where this is going, because if you can present a different boogeyman, I mean, you might have a pitch, but I think a lot of people kind of like their local grocery store. They might not like the prices they have to pay, but they're not like the big oil giants. They're not like some big high-tech concern. They're not like Google or Meta or any of these others. They're going after the wrong guys, and I think that repels a lot of folks.
Absolutely, and it's always good to have a victim, and it's always good to have a culprit. So she blame game, and it is politics. But if we may, separate theory from practice in the real world of economics. Economics is really simple, basically, overall. I learned that early on. More money must come in than goes out, and you have to take a payroll and pay your rent, and simple. And as soon as less money comes in, as that gentleman said earlier about all the bankruptcies, which I'm very familiar with. In fact, some of them I posted you about. That's what happens. Less comes in, you close. He's talking about the local grocery store. What about all those employees that are now out of work and have to find a place to get to work? 2,500 stores closing. Well, that's probably 50,000 people. And she, it's pandering to the electorate. I'm praying, I'm hoping. I've never been as concerned about any presidential election than this one. And I don't like the former president's rhetoric. I know him personally. I don't like some, but his policies work. And it's out there. You can see it. Ask, what did she do? The border? She was asked to go to the border. So why do I have to go to the border? I don't know, why do you have to go to the border?
Bottom line, there are a lot more questions this is raising than answers, Zane, to what you were saying. Thank you very much. Zane Tenko, really good on this issue. By the way, we will be exploring this a lot more this weekend. Who pays for all of this largesse? Who pays for $25,000 credits and write-offs for housing and $6,000 for every child you're having? You might be surprised how that factors out and who gets stuck with the bill. That's coming up this weekend. In the meantime, Donald Trump and his people had a lot of time to sort of weigh in on this, and they didn't waste any time weighing in on all of this. Aisha Hasni with that part of the story. Hey, Aisha.
Hey there, Neil. Well, they were live fact-checking this Kamala Harris speech, the big policy speech on the economy, and they were not impressed. In fact, they had a very choice word to describe what they heard. That's next.
This program is brought to you.
Or did you really think the Trump campaign would let some of the vice president's comments on forcing, controlling prices and all that to get much shelf life? Probably not. And true to form, the Trump campaign has responded. Aisha Hasni has more on that. Aisha.
Well, and on top of that, the former president has now responded, Neil. And you must have known we were about to do this segment because he just posted on Truth Social. So I'm going to read a little bit of it for you. He writes this: if you think things are expensive now, they will get 100 times worse if Kamala gets 4 years as president. Under her plan, Kamala will implement Soviet-style price controls She will abolish private health care and make California's ridiculous tax policies a law of the land, meaning every American will be taxed up to 80% of their income. If you want more cash and less tax, vote Trump. So that is his first response to the Kamala Harris economic plan unveiled in North Carolina. The Trump campaign also out with their statement, basically calling it all BS. Okay, I'm not going to say the word. That's what they called it. And calling her out for this moment. Watch.
So in the weeks to come, I will address in greater detail my plans to build an opportunity economy.
So the campaign writes on Truth Social, early voting begins in North Carolina in just 21 days, and Kamala doesn't even respect the American people enough to provide details on her policies. I guess they're going to come later. Last night, Trump posted a TikTok video with his props from yesterday's press conference to talk about the rising price of groceries like eggs, milk, butter, saying it's all a disaster. Meanwhile, Team Trump is recruiting former aides now, including his 2016 campaign manager, Corey Lewandowski. And today he was on with Martha McCallum, pouring water on reports that he's been brought in because Trump might want to push out co-campaign chairs Chris LaCivita and Susie Wiles. Listen.
There's going to be no change at the top.
I believe that to be true, Martha. I absolutely do. Look, Chris and Susie are consummate professionals. They have steered a very impressive ship through here.
And Trump's running mate, Senator J.D. Vance, was in Wisconsin today. The pair, according to the campaign, will be ramping up their efforts next week as the DNC gets underway. Neil?
Aisha, a great job as always. Aisha Hasni following all of that and Team Trump response. Want to go to Julia Manchester right now, the Hill national politics reporter. You know, Julia, it always sounds good when a politician lays out getting something here. Susan Page is here as well. I should point out the USA Today Washington bureau chief. Sorry, Susan, that was not meant to be personal. But one of the things I've discovered is when you're getting something or promise something, you'll hear it out. And again, the benefit of being Kamala Harris for a lot of American voters, she is a blank slate. And so some of these plans, certainly right now, Julia, look very, very promising and intriguing until you get under the hood and look at the details. But your thoughts?
Yeah, I think she's a blank slate to a certain extent. I mean, she is running on President Biden's record, his agenda, and what you're going to see is Republicans like former President Trump continue to tie her to that agenda. And they already have, blaming her in particular for inflation and for some of the rising costs of living that we've seen over the past 3.5 years. So I think that's what you're going to see from Republicans really going forward, tying her to that. And also, talking about